I am so excited to moderate this discussion because 17 years later, I've been doing addressable television for 17 years, and we're finally having the conversation about national linear. I mean, I literally have goosebumps at this idea. So I just wrote a piece a few months ago sizing up what is about, let's say, 60 million households that have addressable capabilities. Some through DirecTV and Dish and Comcast and so on. But it still only amounts to 3% of the inventory because it's sitting on the 2 minutes. So one of the things that we're going to see in 2020 is what Jody and Project Or is doing, and what Nielsen is doing with their Sorensen acquisition is lighting up the smart TVs, which could take us from 3% to my estimation of 21%. We are also seeing all of those MVPDs willing to take that technology, NVIDIA and Freewheel, and move it past the 2 minutes to national cable. That could get us up to 30 or 35%, kind of assuming a 50% overlap of smart TVs and those set-top boxes that can do this. So 2020 is a watershed moment. I want to hear from a programmer's perspective, like, how excited are you? How nervous are you? What are you nervous about? How are you going to enter the marketplace with your inventory? Like, how are you thinking about this? And I know you're going to do a joint upfront with Xandr. So give us the lay of the land of the first year of national enablement.
Terrific. Well, the excitement really is because of that panel. Those experts are solving the technical challenges, the technical capabilities. It's here, the triggering, the signaling, the ad replacement. It's not perfect, but that is a big, big hurdle that is being very seriously looked at by experts, and we're going to solve that problem. The other problem that I'm excited about that I see real traction on is the business models. We've talked about the supply chain with regular old linear TV. We supply our ad to the consumer, and it's one person. We put it in master control and we send it out. And as you know, that is not the case. We have a lot of partners that we have to work with along the way on that ad tech stack. We are in conversations with all of them. So the business discussions are well underway. But probably what's most exciting is your point about this line of sight into a full footprint national product. So it's not about just on one sort of subset of the country. It's and we will be taking a very smart, I believe a very smart strategy in that we're not calling it a product until it's across the entire footprint. And we will work with all of the different distributors to get that full footprint. It's not going to happen fast. It will take time. But that's what's exciting. We do have a line of sight into a full footprint national product.
So I'm assuming that you don't start with your best content and just let it ride for the first, go. So do you start with your lower rated networks that are kind of harder to monetize? Is that where you're going to start?
If we had any of those, we would. You're absolutely right. So for example, when we begin our technology pilots this summer, it will not be on primetime inventory. It will not be on our sports inventory. We're going to find some lower viewed inventory. We're going to take one unit and we're going to convert it on one network, and we're going to test that. And then we're going to test it on another network and another network. And then we're going to start converting multiple networks per day, and then multiple units per day, multiple units per hour. So we're going to grow it very, very slowly. While the technology, Jody talked about frame accuracy, it is getting better. It's still not perfect. And we want to make sure it is perfect. We're not going to roll out a fully distributed national addressable product that is a poor consumer experience. The other thing that we're doing is we're thinking very deliberately about the pod placement. We have to worry about competitive separation, of course. So we're thinking about, should that converted unit be the Z unit in the pod? Because it gives us a chance to sort of know ahead of time everything that ran, and can we run another competitive ad or not. So there's a lot to take into consideration. That's what we're going to learn as we start our pilots this summer.
So you're going to be responsible for selling in the advertisers. So are you going to package that as part of your upfront, or I mean, maybe some of these things haven't been decided yet, but like, how do you get advertisers kind of starting to be part of your national inventory?
We will be packaging it, but probably not this upfront. We'll be right in the middle of technology tests, pilots. So we are soliciting some friendlies to do some testing with us.
But it's not just your promos. You're going to have like real advertisers, because they've got to be chomping at the bit. Several of those autos have got to be saying, let me in here.
Absolutely. So part of the technology tests is figuring out the measurement bit. And we're not going to merely just take a marketing promo and convert it, because the marketing promo is sort of out of the C3, and that would be easy, but we're not going to do that because we need to create incremental yield for this revenue, and so we're going to lean on Nielsen to help us figure out the measurements. So it will not be just a marketing promo.
Yeah, I mean, we know, Kelly, addressable will not scale without being able to cover up what was originally sold as a national C3, C7 rated television spot, and being able to cover up a piece of that. So I know that you've been working with the industry, and give us a little update on like what you've been doing to try and advance the measurement so that we can accommodate the use case of being able to allow for only a piece of the avail to be bought by a different advertiser.
Sure, it's a great question. We've been focused since last June. We actually kicked off a task force because this is needing industry cooperation, and the industry needs to agree to the rules around how they want this business model to evolve. So we meet monthly, and we 2 weeks ago published our Addressable Framework as a result of a lot of the input from researchers across buyers and sellers. And the important thing here is, how do we enable linear and addressable to coexist? Creating a flexible C3, C7, but ensuring that as the metrics come to the marketer, they can have confidence they're paying for exactly what was delivered. And so we are underway with enabling that capability to go live, and by the time the TV season hits. The point around the addressable framework was to involve the rest of the ecosystem, especially all of these distribution sources who are unlocking addressable, both inside the 2 minutes and outside of the 2 minutes across the 14, to really understand kind of how we need their help in this measurement team sport that's always existed, in which to provide data in so that we can accurately reconcile linear and addressable alongside of each other. So we've made tremendous progress around exactly how we're going to go about that approach, because as you think about addressable scaling to the 30% number, which is super exciting, we're going to need to bring panels plus big data together in which to create an accurate reflection of the audiences across linear and addressable alike. I think the exciting thing for the programmers and advertisers alike is that you can actually do better real-time optimization decisions. You talk about kind of maybe marking a spot as a kind of addressable spot. I think what we're also trying to solve for is, how can you have better real-time flexibility like digital does today to make even more real-time decisions with acknowledging the rules that exist inside of the linear ecosystem. So when you talk about competitive separation and those types of things, how can we enable the platforms to be more intelligent to help you make those decisions where you're not having to make those up front? And so I think a lot of progress is being made on the measurement front, and Nielsen obviously alongside of alongside of all of the set-top box addressable footprints, and NVIDIA included, really are, I hope, looking to unite scale across all of us to bring as much scale as possible, because it will enable the marketplace to grow faster, business models to lean in quicker, and inventory to be allocated at higher levels that then get the advertisers excited.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you a lot of questions about Sorensen and what you're doing regarding actually being an addressable provider. But before, I want to go back to the measurement so that it's super crystal clear. So the framework, I think, is publicly available.
Yep.
Right? So I would encourage everybody to read it. I've read it. I haven't memorized it, but what I feel like it says is we're going to take the panel, let's say 50,000 households, and we are going to now add the Grace Note data that comes from how many households?
Well, it would be based on the footprint of
Yeah.
the addressable ecosystem.
Okay, so, but for the C3 reconciliation,
It would just be the same thing, like, with Vizio, as they unlock and update their firmware, their 13 million homes, whatever our footprint ends up being.
I was going with there's a panel plus big data is happening.
Basically,
right now today it's just panel.
Right,
I mean, that's what
anywhere-
Nielsen is. But we're going to take panel, so we're going to take what represents a person and known attributes about
Yep.
about the household and the person that is watching, and then we're going to try and make it bigger by including ACR data
And set-top box data.
and set-top box data. So that's news. I think if you're not paying attention, that is news.
Big deal.
Yeah, that is a big deal. Like, we are moving off of panels. Panels are a key part of how we are going to be able to understand that it is actually accurate,
Yep.
right? And what it says. But we also need big data too.
Yep.
Right? So that's news to me. Once you read the 17-page document and you understand what's going on, it's panel plus big data.
Correct.
And then we're going to look at where are the addressable impressions, and we're going to subtract those out. So now, see, I don't even think buyers know. I don't think advertisers actually know that coming, your ads are going to be stepped on by other advertisers. Like, I'm not even sure the industry knows that. What do we think?
No, probably not yet.
And
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
one of
you're
the
right.
keys to
Yeah.
feeling comfortable with that is, did I pay for what I actually got?
Right. That's right.
And so that's, I think, the most important point about at least having a measurement system that can account for what we call under-addressable, what was not addressed but what was covered up. So we're making amazing progress there. I feel like we've gotten really good support from the programmers and the advertisers in that participation, so we should go and look at that. So Kelly, tell me about, you acquired Sorensen about a year ago? A little over a year
Last
ago?
February.
Yeah. So yeah, a year ago.
A year, February 21st.
So tell me, how is it going? Integrating companies are not easy.
Yeah.
So tell me how it's going.
It's a lot of what Jody said. You don't know what you don't know until you actually see someone who took the bold step of being first. Grace Note, obviously, when we acquired them, had world-class ACR, one of the early inventors alongside of Inscape, used to be Cognitive back in the day. And so, I think we were emboldened to believe that, solving some of these technical challenges were not as hard as they appear, because we have really smart folks that have been at ACR and really complex algorithms for the better part of 10 plus years. But what you don't realize is just the complexity of the making sure you solve for ensuring that not only can it scale, there's simplicity in the way that the buyers and sellers need to come to the table to execute commerce. And so I feel very blessed to have the ability to understand their lessons, both good and the things that need to be improved upon. And so what we really focused on across 2019 was how to take a step back, look at the assets Nielsen has, the Grace Note ACR, the Sorensen ad tech and ACR, the Qterix platform, which a lot of people probably aren't even familiar with, which is really a consent management framework that sits inside of smart TVs.
Managing privacy.
Managing privacy, managing software updates, really kind of sitting at the chipset level. How could we kind of bring this together in a way that helps solve the industry need? And so, I'm very proud of the team. It was a grueling 11 months of integrating different companies, different cultures, different technology, and really, making sure that we were making the right decisions for the industry. And so we announced our beta at CES. It's super exciting. We have 7 programmers and alongside of us, and we're just getting that underway. And we're starting the onboarding process, which is really phase 1. It's exactly what David spoke to, which is you've got to look to make sure the simplicity of the consumer experience is dead on. Meaning that when they go into the commercial break, it has to feel to them as if that commercial was always there. And that is a huge focus for us. And making sure that frame accuracy is better than even current standards that are in the marketplace today. Because we think it's critical if you're going to scale this business and get the advertiser and the programmer confidence in the technology. And then I think, secondly, we're going to move into a demand beta phase where programmers will bring friendlies, agencies and advertisers to the table to really test the end-to-end workflow and to really ensure that as we go outside of promos, as we talk about replacing ads inside of pods and could be back-to-back, there's no kind of restriction on whether it's only one ad in a pod or not. And, different duration lengths from, 5 to 15 to 30s to 60s to who knows what's next. And really making sure that buyers and sellers know exactly, how they want this to operate in a real commercial scale. And then, from there, alongside of that, we're kind of moving into how do we interoperate with all of the other platforms and tech platforms that the industry is using to optimize. And so we've built kind of a true end-to-end system, but it's truly open and interoperable, and it really is meant to plug and play into any existing workflows, existing platforms, because our goal is to just ensure that we can bring that simplicity, because we think it's really three things to unlock scale, or to unlock really addressable, and it's first scale, getting all this footprints united as much as possible, to drive as many opportunities for inventory holders and advertisers. Second is just simplicity. It has to work, and the handoffs have to be seamless, and it has to be simple. And then the third is the reconciliation. Like, we have to help unlock that for the industry from a Nielsen perspective to help this take off in a way that the marketer has confidence from day one. So if we can get those three things lined up and right, I think 2020 is going to be a watershed moment. We're really excited to work alongside everyone else.
So scale, simplicity, and reconciliation. David, what's your wishes? What do we need to accomplish in 2020? Like, just, if we're going to be successful at this and go from 3% to, let's say, 33%, what's got to happen?
Yeah, it's progression, because I don't think we're going to reach critical mass. I don't see critical mass in 2020. I see it in 2021. So I'm not sort of saying,
we're not going to get to 33 in 2020.
Right. No, I want to get to 50 million. And I believe that we can aggregate all these different distribution endpoints to get to 50 to 60 million by 2021. So it's the progress is first get the technology and the measurement sorted out. I do think we're going to have some buyer education. We're going to have to talk to a lot of agencies, understand how they want to leverage it, because addressable is not a product. We're talking about it like a product today, but we consider it enabling technology, because the product really is either, there's a more relevant ad, maybe it's the product is better reach against your strategic target, frequency management, sequential those are products. So we need to get the underpinnings correct first and the measurement correct first. Then we need to go talk to our agency partners to find out what do they want to buy. And so that's what's going to happen in 2020.
That's a great point. A lot of education on the road ahead, and I think we're going to stop talking about how it's done and what it does.
Right.
Right.
That's right.